Hello, you're welcome to the very regular show of Mountain Television, Mountain Special. We bring international and national personalities to talk about what they are involved in presently. Today I have with me a very famous and the senior actor of Nepali silver screen, who is popularly known as Mahanayak. I'm talking about Mr. Rajesh Hamal. Let's welcome him. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
How do you do?
I'm all right. I'm busy in the films, shooting almost every day. So I'm all right.
Whenever I just listen about Rajesh Hamal, I go for a very qualified, very much educated personality in Nepali silver screen. So, how did you happen to join film, being an MA?
It's got nothing to do with my education. I think no matter which field you choose in life, education doesn't come in between. Education will definitely not hamper it. It will only enhance it, I think. I came into films because I always was attracted towards the medium of films. Medium of films always fascinated me. It's only later, much later, that I decided to be an actor. My main intention of being in the films was because I was drawn to the media itself, to the medium of films. So that's how I'm here. Yeah. So, what was your aim in life before you joined the media?
Like I told you, I mean, if I look back now in retrospect, I see that I had this passion towards film. I was attracted towards the medium of films quite early in my life, at an early stage. But then again, I also went through the phases of wanting to be in various professions, in course of growing up. In my late teens, there was a time when I wanted to be a pilot. There was a time when I wanted to be an army officer. So I went through all these phases as normally boys do when they grow up. Not really being passionate about it, but because you just want to be there because you see yourself as other people's examples, and you want to sort of follow it. And you see other people doing it, and you feel that you can be in their shoes as well. But I think my core passion was and has always been towards films.
So you just told, like other teenagers, you wanted to be something what you saw there. So are you satisfied with what you are now?
When I look into my career of being in Nepali films, I intend to look at it from two different angles. I can never look at my career in Nepali films just through one perspective. If I look at from one angle, from one perspective, I'm quite satisfied the way things are going, because I would only compare it from where we started. Because initially when we started, Nepali film was very difficult to take it up as a career. And when I started 21 years ago, I did not even know that I would be doing this for the next 21 years continuously. Because the film making mechanism was not established, and it was very difficult to opt it as a career. So in that angle, I'm pretty satisfied, because I've been consistently working for the last 21 years, which I did not anticipate it initially. And I've been in course of time, I've done many films.
Of course.
I've been consistently busy, so that way it hasn't been a bad ride. But if you look at it from a different perspective, I think things could have been better. We could have maybe moved a little bit faster, and maybe the development of the Nepali films could have been on a higher level. But then again, it is not just because of the people involved in films who are responsible for this. I think it is also the situation of the country which is responsible.
The thing on which you are not satisfied totally is the condition of Nepali film, as the level of Rajesh Hamal has totally been changed, totally been improved, or say it has been more excellent. But the condition of Nepali film, when Rajesh Hamal acted 21 years ago, and now is not so different. So what are the things that has hindered the development of Nepali films?
I think, for the development of cinema, two important aspect is required. There has to be a development in the image taking process, which means the techniques of the cameras. And another one is, I think, there has to be a development in the sound capturing process. So in these two aspects, I think we are lacking from other countries. We have not
as a whole, we lack technology.
In terms of technology, yes, I think we have a drawback there. But otherwise, I think we must also, we intend to constantly compare Nepali films with the films around the world, and I think to do that is not always fair for the Nepali film, because you see, we have our own development process. Every country, I think, has their own development process. Nepal is relatively in terms of cinema, it's a younger country. We have only been consistently, regularly making Nepali films from my generation. I'm probably the first generation who has been consistently working
now.
There are a few other contemporaries, actors like me, but we have more or less started from the same generation. So that way, it's relatively a new format here in this country. But then again, I think it is cinema making is also an evolutionary process. It's not something that changes overnight. It changes in a short period of time. It does take
a long time.
A certain amount of time. And in some countries it can be faster. In other countries it can be a little longer.
Of course, we can assume the country hasn't developed rapidly. So how can cinema field develop? But apart from technology development, do you think all the filmmakers, or say those involved in cinematography, are qualified enough to develop film sector itself?
I will not say that we are truly polished and in terms of making films, but we are all learning, and the learning process is there. And it is also because I think it's the kind of films that we're making is we are sort of stuck in a formula film, and that has to do with the market of the Nepali films as well, and the kind of audience that we are catering to.
I really agree with your statement. Learning doesn't never stop, but don't you think one should be well trained before he or she wants to be in media, because media is the sector from which other people, innocent people, or say villagers, or say those who are apart from the real learning, will learn something in course of entertainment as well?
When I'm saying learning, I mean that it's a learning process for every one of us, all our life. I'm saying learning in that term. But in the other hand, I will not say that we are totally naive either.
Okay.
We do have a certain a vision. The filmmakers here do have a certain vision of wanting to do something that is of their choice. So in that aspect, they're not really confused in those terms. But what I mean is that we have not been able to tackle films in various subjects, or go into depth of tackling different psychological aspects of human conditions or the social conditions of the country. We are sort of caught in a format way of making films, which includes certain ingredients, which includes certain aspects that the audience are always looking forward to. So we are sort of like we're binded by the format of the Nepali films at the moment. So we have not been able to get away from that. We have not been able to tackle different aspects of filmmaking or different genres of filmmaking like people in the other countries have been able to do it.
We'll continue our talk with Mr. Rajesh Hamal, very senior actor and Mahanayak of Nepali films. We will know more about him, whether he was trained before he joined cinema or not, but after this short break.
हिमाल पहाड का राई हाम्रो लक्ष्य सबको एउटै हो जहाँ जो Lakshmi Steel, नेपालमा guaranteed #1 quality. मात्र लक्ष्मी स्टीलले बन्ने छ सुरक्षित निर्माण.
कता हो दाइ छाटिएर
विदेश यहाँ गएर के गर्नुहुन्छ तपाईँ? आयामीको छु.
आयामी गर्छु
के हो त्यो भनेको? विदेश गएर कमाएको पैसा धुक्क थङ्ग घर पठाउनु भनेको आयामी गर्नु हो क्या?
सबैलाई थाहा रहेछ विदेशबाट छिटो छरितो र भरपर्दो तरिकाले घर पैसा पठाउनु भनेको
आयामी गर्नु हो.
आइएमई गरौँ.
होइन बुढी, घर बनाउनलाई जग्गा हेर्यो कि हेरेनौ?
मैले इटरी आवास योजनामा घडेरी हेरे नि.
ए, अनि सुविधा चाहिँ के छन् त्यहाँ?
त्यहाँ त कम्पाउन्ड वाल, खानेपानी, बिजुली, टेलिफोन, चिल्ड्रेन पार्क अनि 18 देखि 24 फिट चौडा सडकले छोएका घडेरीहरू रहेछन् नि. त्यति मात्रै कहाँ हो र? त्यहाँ त पार्टी प्यालेस, मन्दिर र पर्याप्त पार्किङको समेत व्यवस्था रहेछ नि.
त्यसो भए किनिहाल नि त.
म त यही इटरी आवास योजनामै घडेरी किन्छु है. 80% घडेरी बिक्री भइसकेपछि नि चिठा प्रक्रियाबाट 1 जनालाई I-10 कार र 10 जनालाई मोटरसाइकल दिने व्यवस्था रहेछ नि.
त्यति धेरै सुविधा?
त्यति मात्रै कहाँ हो र? यस आवास योजनामा जग्गा खरिद गरी पहिलो घर ढलान गर्नेलाई 2 लाख रुपियाँ, दोस्रो घर ढलान गर्नेलाई 1.5 लाख रुपियाँ र अरू 25 घर ढलान गर्नेलाई रु 1 लाखको दरले नगद पुरस्कार समेत दिने व्यवस्था रहेछ क्या.
जग्गा किन्दा कार पाइने? त्यसो भए म पनि खुसी, मेरो परिवार पनि खुसी. सम्पर्क इटरी आवास योजना प्राली, इटरी सुनसरी. फोन नम्बर 025 58 71 87. मोबाइल नम्बर
97 21 57 12 88.
Today I have Rajesh Hamal with me to talk about how is his life going on. So let's continue. Hello, sir. So we're talking about the condition of Nepali film, and you were telling that we are in learning process. Of course, everybody is in learning process. But were you trained particularly on acting before you joined cinema?
Not in an official way, no. But I did a stint of acting course in Bombay before I got into the films here, and that was only for about 6 to 8 months, I think. But I think, like things like acting, it does help if you are trained. It does polish your craft. But ultimately, it's what's in you.
It's an art.
It's an art that you are sort of like inborn with, and it's your passion that comes out when you're acting. More than your training.
Nobody can discard the fact that Rajesh Hamal is a very well-polished, trained actor. And as you were partially trained in Bombay also, didn't you think of joining Hindi movies, Hindi cinemas?
No, initially when I was drawn towards cinema, and I finally decided that maybe I should give it a try in the field of cinema. I honestly did not know where to start from, because in Nepal those days we were not making that many films. So I didn't know, I didn't think that I would have a career as such here. And those days I was actually, my family, and I was living with my family in India, in Delhi, and I was also involved in doing some, modeling and fashion shows. So in course of that I was thinking that it is probably in India itself that I would have to start off. But while I was in that process, and in a short sabbatical, I came to Kathmandu, and I have an uncle who is a trained film director, and he was wanting to get into his first venture of filmmaking, and he came to know that I was interested in films. And out of the blue, he came over and he made an offer to me, and he said, "Would you like? I'm in the process of planning a film, and if you are here for a certain period of time, would you like to do a film?" And I said, "Why not?" And even at that period, I had not actually taken it very seriously, thinking that I would be doing this for at least for the next 20, 21 years of my life. So I said, why not? This is something that I wanted to do, and I probably eventually do it no matter where. and this would be a nice training ground as well, and it would just be another asset to my portfolio. So that's how I started, and once I started, I did his film, and there was no looking back.
So, anyways, you are now very successful artist, actor in Nepali film, and with due respect to other actors of your age and of your field, we find any competitor of Rajesh Hamal only in Bollywood, not probably in Nepali film. Am I right?
I don't see it in that way. I mean, what's a competitor? What's competition?
And a competitor in a sense, the money or the payment Rajesh Hamal gets in a film, and the dialogue delivery, or say his intelligence. It's my personal view. I may be incorrect as well, but I find Rajesh Hamal compared to foreign actors.
Well, in the course of 21 years, I have probably, got my craft more burnished, more polished. But again, when we are working in films, it's more the people who are on the outside think that we are really into a cutthroat competition, or we're trying to outrun each other or outdo each other. But when it comes to filmmaking, we're actually in a very cooperative, in a very as a team we move on, and we each do the role that we are assigned to, and we definitely want to excel in whatever we are doing, but there is not that much of a competition, I think, and the competition, like if you ask any actors, most of them will probably say that I'm probably just a competition for myself, and that's how everybody sees it. So in that way, but in the other hand, I've been lucky that I have been able to sustain myself for 21 years, and till today I've been able to do various kind of roles, and there's a constant offer of films, because as an actor you sort of intend to wane off after a certain period of time, because especially in a country like ours, or even in India, actors and actresses have a very short span of professional life. So that way, to be able to consistently working for 21, 22 years of your life, churning out films after films, and it's not even that I was sort of like doing maybe, I was not just calculating and planning and doing films. I was doing many films. It wasn't that I was doing one film a year or one film in 2 years, and sort of like maintaining my exposures and maintaining my saturation point, so-called. I wasn't even doing that. I was like, I had at least every year I had 8 to 10 releases. So that way I was bombarding the market with my face and my films, good, bad, or ugly, whatever they may be. So irrespective of all that, and no calculation and no planning at all, to be able to sustain myself for the last 21 years, I consider myself very, very lucky, and I am always thankful for my audience for enduring me for such a long time.
So you have played the roles or acted out films of various stories, but most of the Nepali film stories are based on social issues, social stories like, let me not say particularly, but the stories of one film is somehow similar to the story of another film. So we viewers, as a viewer, wanted to see Rajesh Hamal on screen being a real personality that resembles his own personal life. What I mean to say is, most of the films you have been a very poor guy, and you are not even trained on fighting as well, and you happen to go to city areas, town areas, and you learn many things there, and you fall in love with a girl, and it's very difficult for a poor boy to get a daughter of a high society. This kind of stories, we have many films on you. So don't you think Rajesh Hamal would get another height if he had been given another kind of stories, like you look like professor, and we could see Rajesh Hamal being a professor. And what I mean to say is, Nepali films could be made on other issues rather than social issues. Right. We can learn something from foreign films also. Foreign films are made sometimes on the lifestyle of pilot, doctors, engineers, like this.
No, it's not that we haven't made films on various characters. We have. I mean, I have played a role of a pilot. I have played a role of a professor, like you said, in our films. But then I also do agree that our films our films reflects different aspects of our own society. And cinema, again, I mean, the kind of films that we are making here in Nepal, and films that are being made around the world as well. Not all films are based on true life story, And I'm of the impression, I'm a person who believes that cinema cannot truly reflect the true hardcore truth of real life.
Real life.
Once you transform real life into art form, there's bound to be a certain exaggeration, certain dramatization, and that is the fun of watching a film. If you want to watch a real life, you would probably just go out on the streets or go out on different localities and observe people. You wouldn't do that. But if you capture the same thing in a camera and expose it on the screen, people would sit there and watch that, For example, if you go out on the street here, you would not probably sit there and watch standing there and just watch traffic and watch streets and watch people. But if a great photographer comes out there and he starts taking picture of all the traffics and the people and the street scenes, and he gives you an exhibition, a lot of people would actually pay for watching that exhibition. So it is the art form that people go for. So I do agree that our films are also stuck in a certain ingredients and format, like I said earlier. We are not experimenting as much as we should as a filmmaker, There are other societies and other countries which is feasible for them to sort of like explore on various themes and various aspects of cinema making, which we have not been able to do it. We are kind of stuck in a certain format. We are stuck in a certain boundaries of filmmaking, so where we put in certain types of ingredients. Always there must be certain ingredients in the Nepali films. But as an actor, like you said, I of course would want to do different varieties of role, a challenging role in my every films, and I would want my director to have a really unique vision on life and maybe go into the depth of human psychology and have this in-depth study of the society that we live in. That would be great. That would be an ideal situation. But then cinema is not always, we're not making cinema just for the sake of representing art and culture. We're also making cinema to make some money.
Of course.
And we are trying to sell our cinema because, cinema has the certain aspects of art form in it, but there is also a huge aspect of commercialization. So, when we make a film here, we intend to see the taste and the want of the general audience. And I must admit that we are making films for the general audience of this country. And when you make a film for a general audience, there's bound to be a certain sections of the society who will reject. It is not going to be one cinema is not going to be an edifying experience for the entire population. So we do have a certain target groups that we cater to, and I must say that lots of our films they do welcome it with open heart. And that is probably one of the reasons why a person like me is consistently working for 21 years, and we are making films and I get involved in, at least minimum 8 or 10 films a year. But then again, as an actor, I definitely wish that what you wished for me would come true. I could be doing different types of roles,
varieties of roles.
But then, it's like the food we eat. Nepali people were eating dal bhat all the time.
All the time.
But what we want to do is we probably want to have a certain ingredients change every now and then, but we don't want the entire course to be changed.
Of course.
We do want to stick to dal bhat, but we maybe want a different vegetable every time or a different
time and again
flavor of dal every time.
Okay.
But we still, and our films are like that too. We have this certain ingredients that we must have it, but every now and then we try to bring in a few changes, and hence.
So let me go into your professional life once again. So I'm afraid to ask this question. But it is said Rajesh Hamal is a compiled, packed artist, but he would have been, or it would have been more good if Rajesh Hamal had improved one of his sector, and that is dancing. People say Rajesh Hamal is not as good at dancing as he is in other, like say dialogue delivery or say acting. Is it true?
Well, I'm not a trained dancer. I did not come into films because I was a good dancer. I came into films because I wanted to do some acting. So that was my priority. But then our kinds of films requires more than acting. It also requires dancing. It also requires certain skills of fighting. And those are the ingredients that we put into our films. But then, again, I would say that a dancing in cinema is very different from dancing on stage.
Stage, of course.
In cinema, maybe you need a certain kind of style, certain grace, which I try to put in. And I don't think so I look so bad in all of my dancing stints in the films. Some of them look okay. They can be considered passable. And there are a lot of dance sequences that audience have actually enjoyed. And you would, I don't know if you would believe me or not, there are certain audiences who have actually complimented me on my
dancing,
some of the dancing numbers. So you have that. But again, I do admit that I'm not a trained dancer. But if I put my effort into it, if I put my heart into it, I do manage. And I even manage on the stage at times.
Of course. I didn't mean to say you're not a good dancer. You are a good dancer, but your dancing is not as good as your acting, your fighting, your dialogue delivery. I mean to say
basically I came here, I got into the films because my passion towards acting,
So we'll be continuing talking more about Rajesh Hamal and interesting things about him, but it's time for another short break.
नेपालको कोरिँदैछ नयाँ अनुहार नेपालको संरचना हुँदैछ अझ सुदृढ नेपाल बढ्दैछ अगाडि नेपाल झन गतिशील हुँदैछ यस नेपाली भूमिको माटोमा कर्मठ पाइलाहरू चाल्ने हाम्रो इच्छा छ र हामीसँग नै छ यस्तो शक्ति जसले नेपालको अनुहार बदल्नेछ नेपालको शक्ति मारुति सिमेन्ट हामी बनाउँछौं नेपाललाई
ए तिमी लिजा होइन यस्ती नराम्रो केटी कसरी यस्ती राम्रो भइन
म राम्रै हुनुको राज लुजा फेसियल मात्र हो तपाईहरुले प्रयोग गर्नु भएन उहाँहरूले जस्तो हैन लुजा फेसियल बारे सबैलाई भन्नु छैन
लुजा फेसियल बिना असर अनुहारको उपचार घर बसी बसी चाहे जस्तो मुहार लुजा फेसियल
Reinforcing the nation. Panchakanya TMT Steel Bar. Always first, always ahead.
You're watching Mountain Special on Mountain Television. Today I have a very special guest with me, Mahanayak of Nepali film, Mr. Rajesh Hamal. Sir, we're talking about Nepali film, we talked about your professional life, personal life as well. So now, let me be focused on especially Nepali filmmaking and the professionals involved there. So why still those involved in filmmaking have not been able to live a professional life of filmmaker?
It is very difficult to... every person who is involved in the process of filmmaking here in this country, it is very difficult to sustain themselves professionally. Because we intend to ask this because we sort of intend to compare filmmaking with elsewhere in the world. And our vision is always directed towards maybe India or towards Hollywood, which is the two biggest film industries in the world. I don't know if we are fortunate or unfortunate to be next door to a country which is probably a very dominant force in filmmaking. I don't know if that helps or doesn't help. It probably helps in certain ways, but it definitely doesn't help when it comes to comparing it all the time. We are, like I said, we are still evolving. It is not a very big film industry, film-making sector. I would not even define it as an industry as such. But then again, considering the socio-economic condition of the country and the size of the country that we are in, I think we're lucky to be able to have this filmmaking mechanism that we have in whatever form it may be, good, bad, or ugly, because considering the kind of social economical condition of the country and the instability, the political instability that we are going through, it's not just now, for the last so many years, as long as I can remember, I think we have always been going through political upheavals, and it is a small country. So in that sense, we are lucky to even have a filmmaking mechanism in this country, and a person like me who is sort of involved with the filmmaking process for the last 21 years. So that is the very positive sign. But on the other hand, it is not a very, very professional unit. I mean, a lot of people do it because they sheerly have a passion towards acting or passion towards films, rather than thinking it as a lucrative affair professionally. So then, in that way, of course, it is not professionally, it's not sustainable.
Maybe because of those factors, filmmakers are not professional. But those people who have rendered their whole life to make contributions in Nepali film, as example we can take from Gopal Bhutani, who passed away miserably, helplessly. So he didn't get any kind of support from government as well. So don't you think government should the government sector, because we have culture sector there to look into films, so shouldn't do something for those who have given their whole life, like you now? You have given your 2 decades in film making. So shouldn't government view you as national personality, or say do something for them?
In a country like ours, I think there's definitely has to be a certain attention paid to the film scenario, by the government, because, like I said, it is not a profession which is sustainable, and at the most, it's probably sustainable when you are productive, and once you're not productive, then you probably have a very difficulty in terms of finances. And like you said, you gave an example of Mr. Gopal Bhutani, and there are so many other examples that we see in front of us. Some of the people who have expired have a very pathetic story to tell. And considering all that, I think it is high time that the government sort of paid certain attention to this field. Because it's not a field which as a productive person you give you everything, and once you become unproductive, then you are not
discarded.
Discarded in terms of you're not making anything. I mean, it's not a field where you retire with a pension. It's not a field that you are given a retirement with a golden handshake or anything. You are only making money as long as you are productive.
Okay.
So in that term, I think the government should pay attention to it, and the government only pays a lip service once the people die, but they don't do anything constructive. I think it's high time a government give a little bit of attention to this field, and probably extend a helping hand more than just a lip service.
So actually we have come to the end of the show as well. So lastly, why do not educated late teenagers want to come to Nepali film? Because we do not see, actually the question has been repeated once again, qualified, we hardly find a person graduated in Nepali film. Why is it so? Though it's not a compulsion to be educated in Nepali film, it's an art, but we hardly find anyone. We find very rarely anyone graduated in industry.
What I would like to say is that, like I said, it's an evolving field. We're still in the process of getting better. But then all is not that bad, because you see the filmmaking mechanism is going on. It's not static. We are moving on, and as long as we're moving on, there's bound to be a change. It's only when we're static then we have a fear of not moving forward at all. But I'm very optimistic, because you see, we are constantly making films. I mean, a person like me, and there are other contemporaries of mine who have been in this field for X number of years continuously. No matter what kind of film that we're making, good, bad, or ugly, we are making films. There is a certain kind of discussions going on about Nepali films. I mean, you and I are talking here in this television channel about Nepal. So all this, I take it as a very positive, you know. Whatever it is, it might be a criticism to the Nepali film, or it might be a praise to the Nepali film. No matter what it is, the process of discussion, the process of you know, thinking about how we can better our films is going on. So that all is a very positive note. So I think in course of time, there's definitely going to be a new generation coming up who will be passionate towards filmmaking and who will see themselves as a filmmaker in this country itself. So that way, I would not you know, be too judgmental at this moment. I'm very optimistic because no matter what kind of film we are making today, we are in an evolutionary period and we are evolving. So sooner or later we'll get there. Sooner or later we'll have this turning point.
Being a Nepali, we do hope the same.
Yes.
And to talk about, lastly, about the market of Nepali films, sir. As to talk about myself, I was born out of the country, and the place where I was born is still there. There is a great craze of Nepali films, more than itself in Nepal. So, how do you analyze the market of Nepali film in Nepal?
No, Nepali films, you know, we basically, when we make a Nepali film, we are saying that we're making films for all Nepali people, you know, whoever understands Nepal, or even any other people who are interested in Nepali films. But then again, when it comes to the reality, it is a fact that we are catering to a certain section of the society. But it's the bulk of the society, you know. We are not making the kind of films that we're making by accident. We are making the kind of films that we're making purposely, because we see a market in that. We see the bulk of the market in that. I do understand the fact that there are certain sections, you know, in the society which opt for a different types of films. You know, we have about 300 million people in this, 30 million people in this country. And there's bound to be a certain sections out of that which are interested in something else besides Nepali films, you know. So all that kind of various taste is bound to be there. But there is a bulk a number of people in this country which are attracted towards Nepali film. And I'm not saying that they would be attracted to all types of Nepali film. There's no such thing that you make a Nepali film, then all the people who are interested in Nepali film will come and see it. You know, some films are liked enormously, others are not liked, and that is the process of filmmaking. Sometimes we succeed in what we make, sometimes we do not succeed. But there is a huge amount of a populace which are attracted towards Nepali film, and like you said, there are a lot of people who are living outside of this country, like people like in Sikkim. Or I was in a function the other day, and there's a huge Nepali diaspora around the world, and they are wanting to see Nepali films, you know. But then I'm not saying that they are you know, hardcore fan who would sort of lap up every Nepali film that comes out. No, but they would want to watch a good Nepali film. So they are the prospective audience as well. So I don't think so there's a dearth of audiences. It's just that filmmakers have to sort of like roll their sleeves up and you know, and understands people taste of Nepali people around the world, and generally cater to the audience which are looking forward to Nepali films.
So finally, being one of the senior artists, so what suggestion would you like to give to the newcomers who have recently come to this field or who are in plan to coming to this field? What suggestions would you like to give?
I would say please welcome if you are passionate about filmmaking, if you're passionate about acting, do come into this field. I'm not saying that it is lucrative professionally right from the beginning, but you know, as you go on, like I said, you can take an example of myself. There's other contemporaries of mine who have consistently been working in this field for X number of years, and you can take their example. So if you're serious, if you're focused, if you are a dedicated filmmaker or an actor, and you have the passion, do come in with all sincerity. But do not come in just because someone tells you that you look like an actor or just because you want to see your face on the screen. Don't come with that aspect. But if you're genuinely serious about filmmaking and acting, please do come in. And this is a field where you can turn it into a profession. And it's not as bad as it sounds on the outside. Once you come and you give your best shot and you put in your effort, this can be taken up as a profession. And we do need new generations to come in and bring in new ideas. And that is another way of improving our films and giving another aspect to our films as well.
So finally, last but not the least, so are you getting married?
Hopefully. I'm not against marriage. I've come to a point where I'm saying that I'm not against marriage. You know, a few years ago, if you had asked me, I would say it's not in my book at all. But at this point in life, marriage is. I'm considering getting married. So eventually, I probably will.
Okay, I heard this same dialogue 1 year back on my own television show.
Really?
Yeah, there was a small bite. You were on plan, so may your plans be successful.
Yes.
And may Rajesh Hamal get another level in the days to come. So all the best, sir.
Thank you very much.
So it was great talking to Mr. Rajesh Hamal, and it was one of my challenging interviews of my lifetime with senior actor of Nepali film Rajesh Hamal. The talk concludes here. Another Sunday I'll be bringing another personality. I hope you will admire that. Till then, bye.